Today I'm reviewing the SIVGA Que UTG in-ear monitors. Would you believe me if I told you that these had a glass diaphragm? Let's get it. What's cracking, audio fans? It's David here from Prime Audio Reviews. Looky at the SIVGA Que UTG. I'm pretty sure that's how the pronunciation is. It's a Chinese word that translates to magpie, which is a kind of bird. We've got some of those in Australia. They are nasty. They can do some real damage, take out an eye or peck you in the head as they do flybys. I'm not sure what the Chinese magpies are like. All that aside though, the price of the SIVGA Que UTG is about $97. You can probably find it for less on sale. I want to show you this case before I forget. It's really nice. It's the same as the one that came with the original Que, and it looks just like that. But yeah, that's real nice. I think it might be genuine leather, and it's semi-rigid too, so it's good for protecting your IEMs. Before we dive into the IEMs, I want to mention this cable. It's a really nice silver-plated copper cable, and it is modular, and you can just unscrew that and unplug it. It comes with this 3.5mm single-ended and a 4.4mm balanced termination. Now this, in my opinion, is definitely an upgrade from the original Que cable. This one is not modular, and it's also only a 2-strand. It's a bit thicker. It's nice still, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't handle quite as nicely as this new version. Yeah, so check these out. Now these face plates are real wood. They are made from South American green sandalwood. And not only do they help reduce resonance, but they also give each set a unique wood grain pattern because it's real wood. Every single faceplate is 100% unique. And I think most people will agree they look pretty cool. But the rest of the shell is also nice. It's kind of this champagne gold color with a really nice finish on it. I like these nozzle covers too. Very, very stylish. So in terms of build quality and comfort, these are outstanding. So yeah, that driver is a 10mm dynamic driver, but it has a flat glass diaphragm. What? Who would imagine? I mean, I know about piezoelectric drivers. They're made from, what is it, porcelain or ceramic? Ceramic is what I'm trying to say. And they sound, well, I'm still not a fan of piezo drivers. Most of them are poorly implemented in my opinion, but some of them sound all right. Anyway, getting off track, flat glass diaphragm, weird stuff. And apparently those are made by a Japanese firm called NEG. But enough with the trivia, let's get on to how these sound. First of all, they are easy to drive. You don't need to pair these with an expensive or a powerful source. Plug them into whatever you got on hand and you'll be fine. And now I'm going to throw up the graph for you. There it is, have a look. So it's got a bit of a unique approach with its tuning, much like the original Que. It steers clear, well, not completely, but it's a little bit away from the Harman and Meta target responses. But what it does instead, it has a sound with a strong focus on the lower mid-range and the upper bass, and with a nice extended treble. So let's talk about that bass a bit more. So the UTG, well, the Que UTG does the opposite of what many recent IEMs have done. It actually has a rolled off sub bass, and it boosts the middle and upper bass, and that gives the overall sound a really rich and warm character. But that is a risky tuning choice. It could easily turn things into a bloated mess, but thanks to the high quality of that driver and the strategic treble tuning, which I'll get to in a minute, the UTG, well, the Que UTG pulls it off handsomely. That sub bass has a lighter, kind of a more restrained rumble. The mid bass, however, is punchy and full-bodied. It's got plenty of impact and authority. Kick drums have a slightly softened attack. giving them a nice natural feel, but the decay is nice and tight. It keeps things snappy and prevents any sort of looseness in the bass. So for this one, bass guitars get a lot of love, as do cello and lower piano notes. So they come through with a nice satisfying warmth and density. Let's talk about the mid-range next. And the lower mid-range is rich and saturated, complements of that boosted mid and upper bass and boosted core mid-range. There is also a slight lift in the upper mids though to compensate for that extra warmth in the lows and sort of help maintain clarity. So despite the thickness of the lower mids, vocals and instruments never sound blurred, they don't sound veiled, and I guess, yeah, like I said, probably in part due to the quality of the driver and the treble tuning. Speaking of the treble tuning, yeah, it's nice. It counterbalances the warmth in the lows, it adds clarity, and it keeps the sound free of congestion. And what's impressive about it is it managed to do that without sounding edgy or sharp. It's a really, really well done treble. So there's plenty of air and there's plenty of detail on offer. There's no sibilance or noticeable brightness unless it's inherent in the recording. So I don't know what special thing that diaphragm is doing, but the treble sounds a lot more natural to my ears than most of the piezoelectric drivers I've heard. The treble is crisp and it's smooth. It doesn't sound metallic. It doesn't have any sort of unnatural character or scratchiness to it. In fact, the treble timbre is, I would say, above average for a sub $100 IEM. And then when we get to the Soundstage, look, in short, I'd say the Soundstage and the technical performance are much better than I would expect for such a tuning. So despite the warmth and the richness of the upper bass and the lower mid-range, the Chue UTG here has an impressively wide soundstage, great clarity, and good resolution. On top of that, the detail retrieval is excellent, even better than a lot of its direct competitors, which is again unusual for IEMs with such a full-bodied and warm tonality. All right, comparison time. Let's pull out the original, is that a word? The original Chue, and that's it there. Again, I don't recall what type of wood the faceplates are, but it is genuine wood, meaning they all have their own unique grain pattern. So the original Chue has more emphasis on the sub bass, but less fullness in the upper mid range, and it also has a more rolled off treble. The tonality, however, is still similar to the Chue UTG. It's clear with warm undertones, but slightly less dynamic than the UTG. Vocals sound a little leaner and they have a thinner note size on the original, whereas the UTG it's more saturated and possibly a bit more emotive as well. Now, the original's soundstage is slightly wider, but it feels flatter from front to back. It doesn't have as much depth. It's more like a sort of a broad, shallow venue, if you imagine yourself in a venue, than a sort of a deep, rounded one. So both of these IEMs, I think they perform really well for their respective price points. However, I think the UTG's upgraded cable really makes it worth that little bit extra. Or if they are at the same price, I would definitely gravitate towards the UTG just for that cable, considering that they are fairly similar in overall tonality. Okay, let's pull in the Truth Ear Pure. Oh, and by the way, if I'm saying Chue wrong, if there's anyone who knows Chinese watching, let me know in the comments. Am I close or am I completely getting it wrong? Anyway, the Truth Ear Pure, I'd say it leans a bit closer to neutral tuning with less warmth. That is predominantly in the mid-range. It's closer to neutral, but it does have a more elevated sub-bass. So those super low bass notes are a bit more upfront on the Pure, Both of these IEMs aim for clarity. The Pure achieves its clarity though through a more linear approach, like in the frequency response is more linear, closer to a flat line, whereas the UTG sculpts a sort of a richer tonality, a bit more musical. Vocals on the Pure have a bit more articulation, but they can sound a bit leaner next to or compared to the UTG's more expressive and full-bodied mid-range. The Soundstage on the Pure, I'd say, is slightly deeper that way and more focused, while the UTG has a broader or wider spread and it feels a little more open overall. But both of these are amazing value, you know, for what you pay. They're both excellent IEMs. Which one would I prefer? I don't know. Probably the Pure, maybe. But it's like, see, I can't even make up my mind because they're both good. And which one is better for you will depend on your tuning preferences. Do you want more sub-bass, or do you want a really rich and powerful lower mid-range, especially great for male vocals, cellos, lower piano notes, etc. Anyway, that about covers everything. I think I'm going to wrap it up here. That is the SIVGA Que UTG. I like it. It's a little bit unusual. If you are like getting bored with those multiple Harman, all those Harman tuned IEMs out there, if you want something that's a little bit different, goes on its own path, then check out the Que UTG. It's pretty good. So thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, Pa Family Audiophile style. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button before you go. And until next time, I'll see you later.